Celebrating this Women's Day, we have Sudaya Dance Foundation. This lecture, demonstration and performance will highlight the grace of Indian women as expressed through movement in two traditions of Indian culture. Beginning with the early technique of Chau that has in its vocabulary a codification of the mundane chores done daily by women, the lecture will move on to how the nuanced world of emotion, feeling, and sense of celebrating the feminine is expressed in the phrase of movement, both abstract and narrative, of Odissi. The lecture demonstration will conclude with a brief live Odissi performance, which will further underline the theme. Today, Shagun is with us. She is an acclaimed exponent of Odissi and Sri Saraikela Chau. She has performed at prestigious platforms across India and also the other countries. She is credited to be one of the very few women perform of Saraikela Chau in the country. She is the founder of the Sudaya Dance Foundation. Now I hand over this session to Ms. Shagun Bhutani for her beautiful performance.
Should we just make them move up? I'm speaking and doing the session on a day when women are celebrated to be special, but we are even on a normal basis. But going with the Western stream of having a day for everything. So first, I don't know how many of you are aware of why Women's Day is celebrated, or how it started to be celebrated. So basically, in 1908, like multitudes of women marched across New York City, demanding for shorter working hours, higher pays, and voting rights. And then this same sort of, this kind of a fervor transported to Europe. And then in 1970, the Russian women sort of had this very massive, resolute strike against the 2 million soldiers, against the World War. It was 2 million soldiers from there had been killed. So that date was the 23rd of February, according to the Julian calendar. So in the Gregorian calendar, that became the 8th. UN recognized this in 1975 or something, and it's only in this century now that they've become more particular about celebrating, this day, and they do things. I think because of the internet, everybody is more connected. So it's become now like a world-over festival. So, of course, it celebrates the women, but it's also a day to remind us of how the women have struggled through the ages all over the world for parity, for equal opportunities, for justice. And I think around the same time in India, of course, women were sort of beginning to be involved in the freedom struggle, and luminaries like Sarojini Naidu and Annie Besant, they were also very openly supporting women rights. And for me as a dancer, it is also very important to know that around the same time, there were dancers in the West, like there was somebody called Isadora Duncan, there was Ruth St. Ellis, Mary Wigman, and they were revolting against the confines that, the ballet, the classical ballet sort of gave to the women who danced in it. So you had this bind of the body with corsets, you had the bind of the feet. So they were advocating a freer style. So that was also a liberation. And even in India, in the 1930s, our dance traditions, which are so connected to our religion and our philosophies, so they had gone into this status of being very derogatory because of various attitudes towards them. So in that decade, they were also being uplifted, and that too by women. So there's a person called Srimati Rukmini Adunge who, because they knew that they're so connected to our traditions, they sort of worked to the uplifting of the art and the arts. So that's a background of Women's Day. Today's lecture that I'm going to do with in dance is dedicated to the fortitude of the ordinary Indian woman. You know, just the grace and the poise that the Indian woman in her daily life, her daily tasks, whether it's a task which is cooking or being a homemaker or out at work, there's a certain grace and poise that they bring to whatever they do, to their relationships, and that is what I dedicate today's talk to. I've divided my talk into 4 sessions, and we are supposed to be finishing in an hour. We'll be moving to different galleries, but if it goes longer, I have to cut it short. So basically what I've done in the museum, there are many artifacts and objects, sculptures and paintings that tell us something about women. So what I have done is I've taken these as reference points, and with the narrative of movement from Odissi and Chau, I have sort of built a story around it, and that's what and that is how I'm going to make it better. Odissi and Chau are 2 dance traditions from Eastern India, so they have a certain similarity in body sensibilities. Odissi is innately feminine, and for me, to have practiced it for so many years, it's very liberating for a woman. It really builds an inner attitude and it empowers. Chau is it's sometimes taken as a kind of a folkish form, but it's not folk. But it's a form that is developed in the community. But ironically, it's a form that is only danced by males. But even in that, as we go through my lecture, we will see that they also could not ignore the gentle sort of might of the woman in the temple. So the first section of my talk is called fluidity. So I want you all to just look at this sculpture of the goddess Ganga. And this is not a stone sculpture, it's a terracotta sculpture. Terracotta is a common man's art because you see it's the cheaper material. Stone needed a patronage, but this is a common man's art, and yet later on, whenever you have the time, if you see it closely, it is a beautifully detailed form. But for me, what interests me in the perspective of movement, and you see it in many representations of the river goddesses, which came in the early centuries. You see a lot of river goddesses, is how the body is sort of curved and it evokes the flowing of water. So for me, the fluidity is innately feminine. If you all are aware of the Shri Yantra, I don't know, it's the yantra of the god, of the Shakti. It's sacred geometry. So all the triangles in it which face downwards, which point downwards, are the feminine. And for them also the element is water. So the flow is a feminine thing. If you look at the way the dhoti is made, it sort of echoes the rippling of water, and that adds to the flow, just like the way I have draped my dhoti, and that adds to the fluidity of my movement. But in the body, how do we bring out this fluidity? And so now in Odissi especially, it's, that fluid nature of the dance is very obvious. But it's not easy to do it, because how do you bring it in the body? My body is straight and, of course we can move, but how do you coordinate it into a flow? So basically, you break your body in parts and you learn to move each one in its own scope of movement, and then you join them to bring a... So like the head is this the movement, then for the neck is this. Then you have the torso, so the torso goes, these are the different movement of the torso. So, all this torso. The hip is very sparingly used, but you do use the hip to express certain things. Then the arms, you have 3 parts of the arms. This is thing, then the hand is separate and you move this, you learn to move this. And the leg, of course, the foot. So everything is learned to move in a different way. We have a vocabulary for head movement, neck movement, arm movements. And then we combine them. So I'll just show you 2 steps in this. Tal. So this is the Tribhanga. Let me talk about it.
2, 3.
Then, there's also ways to intensify the curve. So, suppose if you do this step, there's a step like that, and I need to bend in this way. But with the bend, I also do the torsion. So, you see the curve gets accentuated. Number this.
1,
I'll just do a step with
3.
So this is a way you bring the fluidity in the body. Also, I think that the river Ganga is like a mother who, in the flow of her water, sort of embraces the earth and imparts it like a vitality of life. So just like a mother sort of creates a new life in the curve of her womb. And to that child, she gives tenderness in the curves, of the body. Like a mother is always, there's always this ground of comfort around you. So I'm going to show you a few movements in Chow, which depict like a mother playing with the child. Just that.
1, 2, 3.
This is a movement which you are just holding the child. Emoting different concepts. So for here, it is the flow of the river in sculpture, and for us in the dance, all the emotions that are sort of compassionate or softer, always use the curve of the body. Now the second section is the aesthetics of the mundane. So. All the movement that we do in dance or you see in sculptures is not just from anywhere. It is inspired from either the community of people where it was nurtured or created. So there is an incident that I want to narrate. I was doing Odissi in Delhi for many years, and then I thought I wanted to go to Odisha to learn, to sort of further connect with the style. So I went to stay in the house of one of my gurus, and it was, though they lived in Bhubaneswar, the living was, of like rural living. So they used to all sit on the floor. And one day, one of my guru's daughters-in-law, she was sitting on the floor, and she was combing her hair and making it into a bun. So I think she was sitting like that on the floor, and she was combing her hair, and then she just knotted it up and put it in a bun. And I was very surprised because to me it looked like, you know, a pose in the dance where somebody is showing. So we have a pose which is like that. You know, it's like that, and you're showing your head. So for me, that and that were totally similar. And even though I am Indian and I'm from Delhi, but that sensibility of the body was in that girl from Odisha. So you see, so the connection comes out. And now I'll move to Chau again. So the creators of this form, it's derived from martial arts. So it's, you know, you practice it with a sword and a shield. And it was taken from the techniques of the soldiers who used to practice it. But when there was no war happening, then the movements, they started practicing with the dhol and nagada and everything. So it became like a dance. But the creators of the form, there's one part of the technique which is called uflis. And half of these uflis are inspired from the work that a woman does in the house. And now at this point, I want to connect it to an artifact, an object in the Harappan gallery. If you go there, you'll see these grinding stones, and you'll see like those flat, जो सिलबट्टा होता है, तो वहाँ पे वो दो तीन डिस्प्ले में है, और ये 5000 साल पहले की बात है, ये वहाँ पे थे. And मतलब when we were growing up, it was an integral part. I don't know for some of you young people, it may not be, but when we were growing up, it was an integral part of the kitchen. तो जब मैं सिलबट्टे को देखती हूँ, तो मुझे सिर्फ ये नहीं लगता कि वो सिलबट्टा है, मुझे वो पूरा सीन याद आता है जो घर में कोई मसाला या चटनी या कुछ, सो वो एक खुशबू आती है. And then you feel, you know, like in my house there was an old Malin who used to, you know, help my mother. So she had this, you know, her sari was always covering her head, and she used to sit, you know, they sit like this in a squat, which is very difficult. मतलब ये बैठना आसान नहीं है. And then ये movement करना है. You see, so in their arms, then her back is straight. You cannot be like this. You have to be like this. So if you try doing it, it's very difficult. The pallu is falling like that, and then as she's doing it, her bangles are making this sound. So it's a full movement. So what did the Chau gurus do? There's a sequence of three. So in Odisha, the Chau tradition is Odia culture again. So first you kuto the chawal, the dhan, the husk comes out. So that's called dhenki kutta. So dhenki kutta ka ek movement hai.
1, 2, 3. One, two, three.
Ground the rice, you have a paste. Some of it you use for cooking. Some of it you use to make alpana. And that is called Jhumki Diya. It's a Odia word, but it's called, the technique name is called Jhumki Diya.
1, 2, 3.
Chowme, you hold a sword and a shield in your hands, so you don't do much work with your hands, but everything is expressed through the feet and the legs. So this was connected to the Silvatta. Everybody should go and see it. And to think that 5,000 years back, some woman or maybe a man was doing the same thing in Harappa or Mohenjo-daro or Dholavira is very awe-inspiring for me, and sort of just illuminates the fact that our culture is so old and we still connect. Now the second object that I'm going to talk about is the kumbh, the ghada. It's everywhere in India. I mean, there's nobody who doesn't know. Even now, you have all these pyjamas on the road with the sun on it. It's not that it got outdated. From the rituals of birth to the rituals of death, we use the earthen pot. And the women, of course, because of their, the shortages of water in villages, because now it's being replaced a lot by plastic, you still carry that thing. So I now want to connect the kumbh. It's also one of the Ashtamangalas. So one of the auspicious objects is a kalash. And for me, we are not using it because it is auspicious. It is auspicious because it is a part of our lives. So I am now going to go into Odissi, and I'm going to show you a depiction of two women who are mythical, because I'm going to tell you about Yashoda and Rama. But for both of them, the matka has a different meaning. So for Yashoda, she is the mother of baby Krishna, the growing up child, who loves the butter. So her depiction of the ghada is just, to churn butter, at the same time play with Krishna, and then bring out the butter. So when she's working or with churning, you're not showing the ghada, but everybody knows it is there. So I'll just show a little moment of that, and then we go to Radha. I'll show you this and I'll explain the next line. Entry Tola. punishment. Tolagi Kopatanta, Manare
Manare
Kalyasana, Teddy and दूसरी लाइन बोलिए प्रशांत.
Tolagi Najibi Jamunare Kalyasana.
हाँ, Tolagi Najibi Jamunare. Because of you, I can't do it. Now the second time, she's telling him, दूसरा लाइन, अट्टूनंद.
अच्छा, तुही असुनंद चाकरे कालियासना. तुही असुनंद चाकरे.
So she's telling him, you are the son of Nanda, and you have grown up now, and you become this button thief. Mathura heart of when I go to Mathura to sell the dati, it's that whole thing narrative of how he stops the restitution. Objects that are companions to the people in their daily lives. So you have the ghada in like I think the Lombardi tribes in Andhra Pradesh, they dance with a metal kalash. Then the garba. There's one variation of the garba where it is earthen pots perforated, like a ghada which has got holes and they put a diya inside it and put that on their heads and dance. And in Rajasthan you have also, I think there is some forms you do with the ghada. Then in another form of the garba, they use soups, the winnowing baskets. And in Saurashtra, when we talk about this, there's a dance form called Tippani. And that, the women, when you're constructing a house, they beat the floor to a level and with these wooden mallets. So they do that as a dance. They move with the mallets in a rhythmic, so just to sort of break the border of the task. They do it as a dance form and it's called Tippani. So the dance forms with the objects also become like functional dances. So this concludes this session. How certain objects sort of are directly connected to the Indian woman. Now we move to the next category where I talk a little bit about the hastas. The section is called In the Hands of the Goddesses. So all the hastas of the goddesses. We can move, so whoever wants to move can move here. And we can do it as a workshop. So if anybody wants to do the hastas with me, you are most welcome to do. So here, I mean, actually in this, and I think it's a specific characteristic for the Chola bronzes, that most of them are just holding their hand like this and this. This hasta is Kataka Mukha. It basically means the beak of a. But of course, the meanings are many different. You use it in different ways. But in dance, this is also a pose for or just when you show an ordinary woman, not only a goddess. And you see, this hasta is called dola. And the word dola means swinging. But when you use the hasta, you never swing it like that. So it's very controlled, and the way you use the body is what gives the effect that you're swinging the arm. So I want to basically tell you the hastas for each goddess. So for Kali, it's a sword. So you all can do it if you want. So this, normally this, but Kali is also very, in the sense she's very. She has a very terrific form. It's not something very. So she's not like that. She's smiling. She's always very ugra, what they say. So it will always be like combined with something like that. It will never be a soft. And this this is also something which for a woman you always use the foot like that. Like when you like now for Durga you show with the Trishul. So when you do this, for Durga it will be like that. This and this, the hasta is this. So when she's striking the demon, it becomes like this. When she's holding it, it will be like that. But it'll never be this. But with Kali, it's always like that. Then Saraswati holds what? Veena. So it can either be like this, or in dance you also show it like that. Lakshmi is this. And two of the common hastas, which even the male deities is Abhaya, which is the hasta is Pataka, but the mudra is Abhaya. So you have to be very clear about the hasta and the mudra, because hasta is only the hand. Mudra is an attitude. So when you are in Abhay mudra, your energy has to flow through that. You can't bless somebody like this. You have to have that power in you, so it goes. And then this is Varada. So you are giving, it's the giving. So the goddesses also, when you show an Odissi, you also show this. This was a brief section. I thought maybe some of you would want to do it, so do you want to learn? So we can do some, what's the time for that? 2:40?
38.
We have 10, 15 minutes. So we can do some hastas, just hastas. I don't want you to do the hastas for the goddesses, but you can just do like about 10 of the. So everybody put your hand there and just repeat the word and imitate my finger. So Pataka. Say it. Pataka. Three Pataka. Arja Pataka. Kartari Mukha. Kartari Mukha. Mayura. Arja Chandra. Arala. Shukatundukah. Mushti. Shikhara. Kapitha. Kataka Mukha. This is the hasta. Kataka Mukha. Kataka Mukha. Suchi. Chandrakala. Padmakosha. Sarpashira. Mrigashirsha. Singha Mukha. Kangula. Alapadma. Chatura. Brahmara. Hamsasya. Hamsapakshakah. Samdamsha. Mukula. Tamrachuda. Trishulaka. So for instance, when you show a face, you will use Hamsasya to Alapadma, so this. When you show the eyes, you will use like this and this. So you use this. If you're showing if you're wearing a necklace, then you use Kataka Mukha. So also my take on this Kattaka, I mean my interpretation is that Kattaka Mukha, I mean means a parrot, and the parrot is also a symbol of fertility. And a lot of times you see sculptures or even in paintings a woman holding a parrot, because you know, like she is a symbol of fertility and the parrot symbolizes that. So you know, that's why you. So we move now to the other gallery. So, and this bright canvas of the Shringar, because it's everything beautiful, is also colored with anger, jealousy, you know, all the negative emotions. But then they should flow back into the sublime source. It should not lead you to do anything dark. It should always come back. So the Gita Govind is a 12th century Sanskrit poem written by a saint called Jayadev. And he was a devotee of Lord Jagannath and he worshipped him as Vishnu. So the Gita Govind is all about the love of Radha and Krishna. The description is amply human. I mean, the description is very graphic, but it is a metaphor for the spiritual union of the human soul to the divine soul. So it is the union of the Atma to the Paramatma. Radha denotes the Atma, and all the angst and the sadness that she feels when she's separated from Krishna should be taken as a metaphor for the struggles of the human soul on its path to salvation. So for me, this is a very interesting poem, because it has the three main characters of Gita Govind: is Krishna, Radha and the Sakhi, the friend of Radha and Krishna. She's equally friendly, who is always trying to make peace between the warring lovers, as it were, because they're always angry with each other. They meet, then they get angry, then again they're separated, then again they go, they're like in a frenzy of madness. But it's also interesting for me because basically it is only a conversation between two women. Krishna, like a coward, is hiding, and he sent her that you go and tell her what my condition is. So the Sakhi is always telling, she's like giving Radha a gentle order that you please go. So I'll demonstrate this part to you, that when the Sakhi enters looking for Radha, and she sees her in a very sulky mood. She goes to her and asks her, why are you here when Krishna is waiting? Go to him. So Radha says, no, I'm not. So then the Sakhi tells her that, he is, Abhisar is a word which you use when you're going on a romantic tryst. So if you're going to meet your beloved, it is an Abhisar. It's not just going, it's Abhisar. So she says, he is there and go to this tryst because he is waiting in a form which is more intoxicating than Kamadev, the god of love. And then she tells us, now you have to see the references, because she's telling her, na kuru nitambini. So na kuru means don't do. Nitambini means the large hipped woman. So if you see then that the large hips were a sign of beauty. So there was no this thing, like we think as women, we think that we should not be heavy or we should be, So I just want to emphasize that in our tradition, the large hip woman was a more beautiful woman. So she tells her that don't delay, you large hip woman, to go and meet your Lord of your heart. I'll explain these lines. Then, after a gap, in the end, she's actually commanding her that remove your anklets. She's ordering Radha that remove your anklets because they're very noisy. And she's giving her advice. So when you're going on your secret tryst to meet Krishna, they will make a noise. And then she says that you go in the darkness and you cover yourself with a dark gown. So we'll do this. Shubhu ka karke. Okay, so the friend is entering. I'll just do it. Entry music में धीरज वो भी ले लो ना, रति सुप्रसाद नागुरु नितंब गीता. सारे से कर लीजिए. So see here he's waiting in the bower behind the trees. So this movement is that he's there and you go to him. So Radha says, no, you won't go. And why? And then
Rati Sukha
Madan has come there. Now the last line and she's telling her to remove her anklets and to go to. There's a painting there on Sola Shringar, but we don't have the time. But I can just tell you some hastas which in Odissi. So there's one bhangi which is Darpani, which is anyway like that. Then there's also Ardasa, which is Langar. So it's very And then in Chau, again in the technique, there is the whole act of a woman cleaning her jewelry. So, thoda sa rhythm de dijiye. So the cleaning of the toe ring is shown like this. 1, 3, 4, 5. This is the cleaning rhythm.
1, 2, 3.
This is the toe ring. Then the anklet. This. The pattern. These are some of the techniques which are sort of showing the decoration of the woman, and it's always not only wearing and ornamenting yourself, but very often also removing it. Like you know the thing in Ramayana about her being in a Kopa Bhavan and her hair all open and no jewelry is also a part of the Shringar. Not have anything is also a part of Shringar. So I hope the lecture has told you something about women now and in tradition. We'll conclude here with a shlok on the Devi. So we'll just